Welcome once again to Hunter's Entertainment on Twitch.tv. I am Knoxweiler Burf, your game master and guide through the dark and challenging world of survival horror. Tonight, as we do every Tuesday night, we are playing Outbreak Undead. As you may already know, this game is not for the faint of heart, and I, as the game master, have confirmed consent with each and every one of my players. Our lines and veils have been very carefully drawn, and we have safety protocols in place to assist and protect everybody at the table tonight. Nothing that we do here is done lightly. We are moving forward very cautiously. We ask you for your consent as well, and we encourage you to read the content warning very closely. This game offers all of us opportunities to explore dark themes and to shine light on the human condition in the safe confines of our imaginations. There is a lot of cathartic exploration that we can undertake together, but that takes bravery, and it also takes the support of every single person at the table with us, including you, our audience. Not every character tonight is being played with the same objectives and motivations. Some are working directly against the other players. We are all in communication, of course, and some of them are working with very dangerous forces and cultures that have gathered around them, communities that have arisen in the apocalyptic world that do not have everyone's best interest in mind. Some are very bloodthirsty, dangerous. Regardless, though this may not be similar to many of the tabletop RPGs that you are used to playing in, or perhaps even being an audience member for, we assure you that we have not done this without talking to one another and understanding that while we may end up at odds with one another, that we are doing so from a place of shared narrative, a hope to tell a story that is bigger than any single one of us. Again, I'm very thankful to my players for joining me on this exploration of these dark matters. You see, in this world that we've created, there are no magical swords or valiant knights or castle walls to hide behind. The dangers in this world are far worse than dragons and magic. They wear the face of a world that died long ago. They are the echo, the dying gasp of a civilization that is very familiar, but horribly twisted. Dark reflections. Still, in the greatest darkness, hope burns bright. I would like to thank both JB Jara and Alex Hellman for joining us and for supporting us behind the scenes. The entire Hunters team has been instrumental in making this campaign happen, and we are very appreciative for this opportunity. If you would like to help us, we ask, as always, that you make some noise on social media and help us grow our content here. We want to bring more survivors into the fold, so please join into our Discord and connect with others that you feel might enjoy this particular brand of Dark Ride. Also, as a special note, this game involves you very directly. We would ask that you sign up for the Scry program in our panels below. It is brought to you by Foreteller, and it allows you to engage directly with the communities of the apocalypse. You get to take on the role of a survivor yourself, and you can divert resources and goods to where you think that they are most needed. Again, our moderators, who are very tireless in their support, are prepared to help you in chat right now. You can ask them any questions that you may have, but they will support your efforts. Again, to those undead moderators of ours, we are infinitely grateful for their support. Your choices tonight will mean the difference between life and death, as they are linked to the settlements within the Rag and Bone universe. I hope that you do not take this lightly. It is crucial that the items that are brought to you within the Scry program are dealt with very carefully. We have evolved our offerings, and I'm afraid that the players are the ones who will most directly feel the effects of your choices. Enough of that, however. Allow me to introduce you to our players in tonight's little nightmare. Michelle, would you like to say hello to everyone and tell them a little bit about what you're doing on the internet and who you're playing tonight?
Sure. Hello, everyone. I'm Michelle Lynn Bradley. I am playing Juniper and Olive. I guess first about me, I play here every Tuesday, and I love it, and it's awesome. You can also catch me this week on Sunday. I'll be playing on Pinnacle Entertainment's channel. That's twitch.tv/PNGINC. It's complicated, but you can find it on my Twitter. We are doing a playtest of the brand new Savage Worlds game called East Texas University Study Abroad. It's pretty fun. We basically are like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but we're like on a study abroad trip in Italy, and it's wild. Our GM is actually Italian; he's from Italy, so he'll be schooling us on all things Italian and playing, hunting werewolves and mummies. I'm very excited. That's Sunday at 11 a.m.
Awesome.
Uh, Everything else you can just find on my Twitter, which is at I am Chubby Bunny. And anyway, Juniper slash Olive is having a hard time right now. I'm still running away somewhere with Digger. We sort of became a team when all the explosions happened. Don't know whose fault that was. And I did leave a trail for a share to follow. I hope Juniper hopes she finds them. I am Juniper right now in the timeline, but we don't know what Olive wants, so kind of worried about their future.
I think that we're all a little worried about the future of many people within this game. Markia, would you like to tell everyone a little bit about yourself, what you're doing across the internet, and who you're playing tonight? Perhaps we'll move over to Melee first. Melee, would you like to tell us a little bit about who you're playing tonight and what you're doing across the internet?
Yeah, hi there. I'm Melee Damage. Again, with Michelle, so you can catch me here every Tuesday, playing wonderful characters named.
Melee, I am sorry. There we are. There was.
We're all.
There. There are ghosts within the machine tonight, and we appreciate your patience with us. We'll work this out in just a moment. Perhaps, Luis, you could tell us a little bit about what you're doing across the internet and who you'll be playing tonight.
I can try. We'll see if it works. It looks like it is so far. Hey everyone, I'm Luis Carrazzo. You know that if you've been watching us. I play Lampwick. I am on Twitter and Instagram. You guys can find me on there, or here every Tuesday. Couple things around the corner that are going to start airing very soon. I keep teasing these things. Some of them, I'll be able to share them when they come out. But I play Lampwick. I feel like this has been such a journey, and I love playing this character, and I don't even know where the hell we're going. Like, I feel like he's taking me for a ride. So what I know based on what this bastard's done is that he used to be someone who would use people to that's the kind of survivor that he was. He would exploit other people, the sort of like void within their heart and soul, and tap into it in a way and kind of emotionally or manipulate them somehow. And now he's with the shepherds, because maybe he's been enlightened. I don't know, but we shall see.
It's very interesting to watch Lampwick's journey. I know that many within our viewing audience, and myself included, have been very intrigued by the choices that you've made. Some of these choices, though, are going to have very serious repercussions, and watching this unravel is going to be interesting, to say the least. Shall we try Achira, perhaps? We'll talk about what Marquis is doing across the internet and who you're playing.
Yes. Hello. I see you and you see me. My name is Markia McCarty. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Markia McCarty. Twitch is Darth Markia. Facebook is Markia TV. On Mondays, you can see me on twitch.tv/Roll20 app. We have a Kids on Bikes campaign. It's spooky small town adventures. I am a goth guru DJ who just happens to be 11 and a half years old, is doing mixes with cassette tapes that so far have involved Janet Jackson and Tom's Diner by Suzanne Vega. There's a lot going on there. If you want to check that out, Monday mornings if you're on the Pacific Coast. 8 a.m. Monday mornings. And of course, Tuesdays, I'm here. And then also, if you like to take your horror into other realms besides zombies, I have an animated horror show called Something Scary. Go to youtube.com/snarled. And we are a weekly animated horror episode. And also, there is a podcast involved that you can find on Spotify and wherever you listen to your podcasts. We will have an upcoming live show that is coming in April where we will have some horror guests on, talking horror, reading stories, the whole 9 yards. That'll be April 8th that we'll be doing that, and I'll have the times and guests for you closer to the date.
Thank you again for being with us, Markia. We are very happy to explore this nightmare together with you, and very interested to hear about all of the other horror-related things that you're doing across the internet. I believe that we're going to save Melee's introduction for the end of tonight's journey, so we will check in with her. We have a lot to do, so let's not waste any more time. It's getting dark, and we need to move quickly. Prepare yourself for Outbreak, Rag and Bone. The world ended on Monday, May 29th, 1995. The sky fell, and the dead would not die. Civilization quickly collapsed, and the sickness spread like lightning to even the most remote reaches of the world. They called it many things, but it started out simply as another round of the summer flu. It became something far, far worse. H195 commonly called Legacy or the Reaper's Kiss, was as deadly as it seemed to be, but was far, far worse once the individual had died. It became more infectious after they passed away, and it seemed unstoppable. At first, it seemed as though no one was immune to the airborne strain. Eventually, though, it appeared that a very small percentile of the population had a natural immunity. Even those lucky souls, however, couldn't withstand a concentrated introduction of that virus. For the dead were rising, brought from their graves back to life, like a twisted nightmare. They rose. Your loved ones, everyone that you knew, slavering, hungry, endlessly fighting for your flesh and your blood. If you were bit through a deep scratch or even blood-on-blood contact, you would become infected, and slowly your body would be taken over. You would lose your life first, and then your freedom. The end of days were like wildfire, and throughout the world, people sought security where there was none to be had. Entire cities burned and civilization had collapsed, but miraculously, some did survive. And for the next 25 years, life has struggled on forward. The world now is a fractured place, but there are those who seek to make civilization anew. Rag and bone merchants work their way through the small, disparate communities that have tried their best to survive. These groups bring food, water, the necessities of life across the Midwest United States and helps to bring them hope. The Enders Line is one such group. They use old railway tracks to connect these small, scattered outposts and settlements across the Midwestern United States and beyond. They are a desperate lifeline in a world that now belongs entirely to the dead. Chira, deep beneath Grey Ridge, in the mountainous region that lie to the back of that small, weathered farmhouse, the fledgling community has fallen. The hopes of bringing that doctor into the fold of the Enders Line and providing penicillin and antibiotics to desperate communities across this region has failed. The dead have come in legion. The hordes could not be stopped. The walls fell. This community was not prepared. And the horde that seemed to follow you and your other rag and bone merchants, the Enders that you were traveling with, were far too numerous. More than you had ever seen traveling together. You had seen hordes before, but nothing like this. A veritable sea of the dead that fell upon this place. And in its weakened state, it was shattered, broken. You and your allies did what they had to do to survive. Many, many did not. Your friends, your allies, those that you traveled with, those that you had just met here within this community died before your eyes. And there was something else. One of the Romeros, the Walking Dead, operated far differently than any dead that you had seen before. At first, you didn't think that they were dead at all, though their musculature and body had been mutated and twisted into an abomination far unlike anything that you had ever seen before. A massive killer, wearing a burlap sack over their head, wielding an enormous axe. You'd seen things like this before. You thought that perhaps you were mistaken, that it was a trick of the eye, but you were not hallucinating this. Many have died. You had managed to find your way within the mine shafts that were used by this small community as an emergency shelter. And within these mine shafts was a bunker. You, Juniper, Lampwick, and a few others from the community known as the Citadel had managed to make your way here to secure yourself. All of you were together for a short period of time, but there was conflict. And the members of the Citadel left, along with the strange man who had been so helpful in repairing the VHS player. He seemed to know things about this blockbuster individual. But more importantly, Arya was there. And in an act of betrayal, Rowan, the leader of that group, collapsed the tunnel, burying you and your allies hundreds of feet below the earth. And within this mountainous casket, it seemed as though you might all die. There were small air vents, there was a small amount of food, there was even a generator, gas-powered, that if you used it sparingly, you would be able to provide energy for you and the others. But none of that seemed to matter. Without a way out, it was just a matter of time. Lampwick, while horribly wounded, had managed to begin to tinker alongside a radio. And the hope was that he would be able to repair it so that you'd be able to use it, perhaps. There was an antenna that connected to the outside world. This bunker was meant to have communications, but it just hadn't been completed. But it seems like a needle in a haystack. A fool's bargain. You and some of the others have worked tirelessly to continue to dig your way out. Juniper is a problem. All of you have been very cautious. It seems she's not always herself. There is a murderous side to that strange, wild girl. One that you have now seen directly. The doctor was killed by her. You watched as she snapped her neck, and then you realized that it wasn't Juniper at all. You've been starving now for a number of weeks. Your food resources have been depleted. The water is not good. There is a sickening, rotting smell, and even though you've tried your best to cover the body of Dr. Maria Espinosa and the severed head of the individual known as Blockbuster, there is a rotten, horrid putrescence to the air now. Arya has been in the middle of a very difficult detox now for a number of weeks. The worst possible conditions you could imagine. And you've had to lock her behind a cage. Of her own free will, she has submitted to this. Every day, you have brought her food and water and seen that she was clean and taken care of. You removed her bucket and did what you could to give her comfort. But you yourself are becoming weak. And you sit there now with your back against the chain link fence, her back up against yours. The two of you are very slowly breathing, almost in unison. She's been crying. Achiro, what do you do?
Achira starts sharing part of herself with Arya, specifically talking about her brother, who she never talks about, just to give Arya something else to focus on besides the pain that's going through her body, besides the predicament that all of them are in, besides thinking about something that's not we're buried alive down here.
What was his name?
Blaine. And believe me, I made sure every day of his life I had some sort of pun or something really annoyingly little sister like to say about his name.
He sounds nice. Having somebody that you could understand and talk to. I had Margot.
Older or younger?
No, not my sister, my agent.
Oh wait, the same agent that...
Yeah. Same agent. I didn't really even have parents, as it turns out. They didn't really care about me in that way. I was means to an ends, you know? Like, all they really wanted was for me to keep doing what I do, you know? Make them rich. Smile pretty. Act like I didn't need them.
You know, I'm really proud of you. For you being 100% authentic yourself, like right now.
Yeah. Maybe. I've forgotten what that was like, I guess. I always thought they needed Candy Max, and even now, even though everything's done, these wild kids, they know. They've seen the tapes. Some of them know, and they don't understand, but you know what I'm saying? They really, it works. When I was traveling out there with the others, I could, like, you know, just turn it on for sure. And as soon as I did, people would start doing things for me.
Well, that doesn't stop you from being you. I mean, you haven't turned it on with me, for instance. You've just been you, Aria. I mean, I know oh God, I did fangirl out a little bit, didn't I, when we first met?
I was using you. I was using all of you. I was doing what I always do, Achira. But then you really took care of me. You could have just kicked me out. You could have thrown me out. You held me while I was getting sick, and you've watched me. This is the worst that I've ever been. I'm not pretty right now. I'm not useful. I don't have anything to say that's special. I'm just broken, and you didn't give up, and you haven't.
You're not broken. You're not broken.
I feel pretty broken. And you can feel her head leans back up against yours through the cage on the chain link.
You're not broken. I think it's more like you bend it. You bend it to the pressure so that you could survive, so that you could be 100% you. There's no avarice, there's no makeup, there's just you boiled down to your essence, and you're a really good person, Aria. I know a lot of really bad things have been done to you. A lot of really bad things have been done to all of us. I hate being lied to. I hate it. I hate how duplicitous people can be every time I give them a chance. Every time. They don't disappoint me with how deeply they can deceive, but not you. Not you. And I don't think I've had that kind of authentic person around me since my brother, Blaine. And that was before all of this. So what does that say? I know this is
No.
I'm not fangirling right now, by the way.
You hear her
I'm
sniffle. You can tell now she's crying. And it just starts to well up, and you hear her voice, and she cracks as she cuts you off. And you feel her hand on your hand through the chain link, and she tries to pull it closer to her. Do you allow her to?
Yeah, Achira does.
Between the chain link fence, the two of you now have your hands clasped together. And she lies down, and she's sobbing into your hand. Your back is still facing the wall and her, and you're looking kind of out towards the rest of the group, and they don't see this. They don't know what's happening. And you feel the wet, warm tears streak across her cheek and onto your hand. Is it strange to say that I've never felt safer in my entire life than I do right now?
Well, is that because you're not locked in here with us, we're locked in here with you?
She laughs. Maybe. I don't have to be fake. And I don't have to look for the next fix. It doesn't matter. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. You're enough. You're enough for me, Arya.
Yeah. And you can feel she's like cleaning herself up a little bit. She doesn't let go of your hand, but she leans back up, sitting up, and is still breathing raggedly. You know how weak she is. She's barely been eating because all she does is vomit when she eats. And she's trembling, and you feel kind of how cold her hand is. Look, I know you've lost a lot, and I know that everyone in this world, since things went south, have lied to you, and everything has gone wrong. Shira, I don't know how, but I'm gonna make the world better for you as soon as we're out of here.
Well, if you could find me a VHS player, I've got this I've got Pretty in Pink. And it would be really nice to be able to watch that.
She laughs.
No.
That's one of my favorites. Yeah, we can do that. Damn that Kusanagi for taking that.
I know. What? Out of everything, if you're gonna blow people up, at least leave them some entertainment.
All right. You fall asleep, Achira. Hours later, as the two of you talk your way through Pretty in Pink, recalling the entire movie sheerly from memory, describing it. You would take a scene and then she would. And the whole time, although your hand is cramped and tired, you feel her hand becoming warmer as between that chain link fence, the two of you continue to hold each other. Juniper. It's been over a week. I'd like to talk through how you would have proceeded through the wilderness alongside Digger, as the two of you had found your way outside of the grasp of the horde that had descended upon the area where you had made your stand against that abomination, where the Citadel had arrived, where Rowan had reemerged, and where you had blacked out. You know something horrible has happened. You're still not entirely sure. Let's go step by step what you would have done. I know that you've placed some markers so that if someone was seeking you, a friend, that they would be able to find you in this wilderness. How have you continued this? Are you still moving through this forested area, leaving stones and other demarcation as to which path you've taken?
Yeah, I think as the days go on, I would start to make them a little more. I'm starting to realize that anyone could find us, and maybe that's not the greatest thing. I don't really know what happened back at the camp, except that, you know, I got water, I came back, took a little nap, and I woke up and everything was exploding, and I was in a tree. So I'm starting to think through that situation, that maybe something happened with people and not just Romero. So maybe at first I was doing like little arrows carved in the tree or with the shape of rocks, but as we're going on, I'm making them more subtle in a way that Achira might know. So maybe they're just like little A's with the top of the A pointing, in a direction, like on a, just like one colorful rock on the side.
Yes.
So yeah, I think I would continue doing that. But over the course of 2 weeks, I would start to question. I don't know that I would stay with Digger for the whole 2 weeks, I guess.
I guess that's what we're talking through here. What would you do? What are your goals? What are your focuses? Digger's goal is to survive and to get away and to ensure that the horde isn't alerted to your presence. Digger has not been speaking, really. Digger has just been like a ghost walking through. You can tell that, and he said this to both you and Achira, he's wholly unused to being around people. And you also being born, I mean, he wasn't born within this era, but you were born inside of the apocalypse. You know what this life is like, and you're used to traveling alone. You're used to traveling with some of the other wild ones and to doing what you need to do to survive. So none of this seems odd to you, but maybe it doesn't sit in line with what you are, what you're seeking to do. So let's talk about that.
Okay, so besides doing the arrows for Achira, I would also, maybe after like a week of for that first couple of days, I would definitely just be following him. It's obvious that he knows how to do this better than I do. And it's been a while since I've been by myself, so I'm trying to like kind of get back into it. But I think by week 2, I would start to want to have this conversation about, hey, we need to pick a direction and stop just wandering around, and have this conversation about the Yellow Brick Road.
So he what he has done in a week, and this is, if you just follow him, this is what's happened. You have been well cared for. You eat raw meat. He has showed you hunting areas and ways that he is both trapped and hunted for squirrel and other small game, birds and other things. And he'll strip the meat off, wash it, and then prepares it for both of you. No words are spoken. If you do not say anything at all to him, he does not speak. So for a week, you are brought to areas by streams and other moving bodies of water, never from still water. And he hunts, and he kind of, you can tell he is showing you things. things that maybe you had forgotten or things that you weren't familiar with. If you choose to pay close attention and to replicate what he does, you and he effectively do a fair amount of wilderness training together, where he's showing you specifically this area and how he functions within it. Certainly it's not a social interaction, and the fewer the words used, the better, as far as he's concerned. But he doesn't seem concerned with what has happened. He seems to have, the only thing that he seems to be concerned with is surviving for the time being and making sure that the wounds that he's been inflicted with heal. You yourself, he has been watching, and he has been giving you these teas every night. They are not warm. There is no fire that has been lit. They are mashed herbs and other mushrooms that are within a cup that has been diffused with water. If you choose to take them, we will describe kind of how that goes down, but they're given to you every night. So you can choose to refuse them, or you can choose to take them.
I take them.
So you become violently sick the
Cool.
first time,
Great.
and you, you are vomiting for the entire night. The second night when he gives it to you, you have the option to take it or not to take it.
Hey, am I supposed look, Digger, buddy. I know we've talked for a while, but am I supposed to be puking my guts out every time I take this thing or what?
It'll keep you from being sick.
No, it's kind of the opposite. Like I'm kind of feeling sort of borderline normal right now, and it's making me feel worse. So is it supposed to make me feel worse?
You touched the bile.
Yeah.
You were covered in the bile, and he pushes the tea closer to you.
So this is an anti Romero antidote that you just know how to make?
It's the only thing I can think to do.
If I drink this and I throw up, is that bad or is that good?
It's very good. We are back. We apologize for the technical difficulties. Thank you for staying with us. Please bear with us as we power through the dark misunderstandings that the internet seems to be throwing our way today. Meanwhile, Juniper, you and I were having a discussion. We were talking a little bit about your work in the wilderness as both you and Digger, the strange, wild individual that both you and Achira had made contact with outside of the remains of Pittsburgh. And you had been hoping to bring this individual to 10-4. However, that mission, it seems, has failed. And so now Digger, after the events of the past couple of sessions, has been leading you through the wilderness, assisting you both in recovering from your wounds, but also helping you to learn specifically how Digger manages to survive on his own.
So I would say that we kind of, I take the second dose of tea. I decide that, okay, this is the last time I'm going to do this. If I start puking, then that's it, and we're going to have a conversation about it.
You take the second dose of tea, and while you are nauseous and you have a slight headache, you don't vomit that night. And your body, at the end of the night, sleeps very deeply and very soundly. However, you wake up and you are covered in sweat, and you feel as if a fever has broken, and you have a strange freshness that has come over you. And Juniper, you may remove the one viral that you took in the previous sessions.
Yes. Okay, you were right. This is some sort of anti-undead tea. Amazing. You should sell this. It's great, except for the vomiting part. Thank you.
He says nothing, but continues on through with his routine. And you had said that you would follow along with this for about a week. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And so a week goes by, and you do know that he's moving you through the wilderness. Like you've been heading in a direction, and it seems as if you're heading due to your understanding of the sun and sort of how the cardinal directions work, you know that you're moving towards the east, which was the general direction that you and the others were headed initially. He hasn't backtracked you towards the west, which is where Pittsburgh lie, the pit, as you know it. The iron cage, also a frequently used phrase for that former city. He's not said anything else, and he has provided you with a large amount of helpful information, however, on specifically in this region, the best places to find small game and to gather clean water and to how to gather certain plants that have some medicinal value, things that can help you. And sure enough, you do feel much as you had before. You didn't feel particularly sick before, but you know that there was something horrid about the viscera and the gore that had shot forth from that abomination and had spread forth onto you and your allies. And you have seen the things that have happened to individuals who have been bitten or in some way compromised by the dead. And while this thing spoke, it was far stronger and more intelligent than any dead that you had come across, as far as the day-to-day Romeros that you encounter. This bile, as he called it, this black bile, was an oily and very viscous fluid. And, with all of the entrails that had been shot across that battlefield, both you and your allies were doused in it. And it was very dangerous. If you'd not washed yourself off very quickly, you think that you would have been very sick very quickly. But even then, walking away, there was a lingering sense of something wrong. And thanks to these herbs, it seems as if now you're in the clear.
Okay.
What happens at the end of that week?
Can we stop for just like a second? I know you hate talking so much, but this is. Where are we going exactly? Are we not going back towards the yellow brick road or whatever that's supposed to be to meet with the others?
Digger stops, and he scratches the back of his head, and he's sort of shaking a little. You can tell that he's always been deeply uncomfortable around people. And he's very average in height and weight and size. He has a beard. He has managed to trim it somewhat, but it's very nondescript. And while he is dirty and a little wild looking, he's entirely forgettable in so many of his features. And he turns around to you, and you kind of, in the sunlight, speckled through the trees, you see his face. And for the first time, perhaps ever, you feel as if you really see his face. And you realize that he's struggling to try to speak. And he's physically stuttering as he's beginning to say words to you. Right. I'm sorry. I know that it's not the way that you are used to traveling. I don't know what to do except 10-4. You had said that he needed my help.
Yeah, that was the whole reason we went out to get you.
I don't think traveling their roads is safe.
Well, yeah, yep, absolutely. That's definitely what's happening, I think. And is it, if we're agreed that we're gonna go to 10-4, I think that's fine. I would like to get back to the group. I don't know what happened to Shira, or where Lampwick is, or where the twins are. Or, I don't know what happened to everybody. I assume we're all going to going to the same place eventually. Though it's gonna take some time.
I don't believe that the others are alive. I don't think anyone besides us made it out.
Well, why do you say that? I mean, we got out. We were just. They're capable. Maybe.
Can I be honest with you, Juniper?
Yeah? You're not. Oh, yeah, yes. Mm-hmm.
I'm watching you. You're dangerous. If I take you back to 10-4, you might hurt others. I'm protecting them from you.
So, we're not going to see 10-4 right now? We're going somewhere else?
We're going to see 10-4. I'm taking you the long way, away from the roads where the others, the ones with the guns and the vehicles know about. We're staying away from those roads, and I'm watching, waiting for Olive.
What? Why would you be waiting for Olive? How do you know about Olive? What? I mean, I'm not dangerous. What are you talking about? I just, like the usual amounts, pretty good with a bow and arrow, but I'm just pretty much neutral, I guess. If someone messes with me, yeah, I'll fight them, but I mean, I kind of thought we were all getting to be friends here.
We are friends. I'm like you. I don't want anything bad to happen to you.
Well,
Olive speaks to me.
Oh.
While you're sleeping.
Well, maybe she talks to me too.
All right. That's good. You should talk to her. I
don't think we should talk about this once we get around the others.
I would never tell anyone anything you didn't want me to.
Okay. I appreciate. Yes, I know you're on my side, and I appreciate everything you've done to help me up until now. I mean, I kind of thought you were gonna bounce earlier on in this adventure, but all right. Right now we're a team, and we just gotta get back to the others. I think everything's gonna be fine once we get back.
I can get you to the station that you were looking for, the one with the radio, and we could try to make contact. But to be clear, Juniper, I think that we should take our time and be careful around them as well. I don't trust everyone.
That's a good way to be. Honestly, I just want to get back to the twins. They're kind of dumb, so I think I need to help them out. You'll see when you meet them.
That's the same thing Olive says. And he turns and kind of like starts picking through the trees.
I follow.
And the two of you make your way through the overgrowth. There are a lot of dead leaves and broken branches here. The trees are much larger. And halfway through the day, as you are accustomed to stopping at about this time period after you've traveled for so long to eat, you move forward. He continues to press through, and it's very cold. It's encroaching on winter, and it's very chilly. You can sort of see your breath now as you walk, and there are small patches of frost that kind of linger on the ground much longer than they have in previous days. And you break through the trees, and you see a small, uncovered shelter. It's much like the bunkers that you have found throughout the rail lines. Typically, they're covered in camouflage netting and other debris that hides them. This one has been entirely exposed. The door has been pried open, and all of the interior of it has been pulled out. Hanging from the trees are a number of individuals that you don't recognize. They're Romeros now, and they groan and reach out around this bunker. And they swing back and forth, and there's a creaking of the tree limb and the rope as these animated corpses, bloated and rotting, wearing old, filthy camouflage and garb that you recognize as atypical of that worn by rag and bone merchants.
Yeah, you and me both, buddy. Did you do this, Digger? Or is this...
Digger turns and holds his finger up to his mouth, eyes wide, shocked and sort of terrified as you speak, and it echoes throughout. And all of the dead sort of look towards the two of you, groaning, and that's when one of the branches snaps.
Ah, no.
And the Romero hits the ground.
No.
And the shuffling form of this corpse pries itself up as a number of crows land back on it and continue to peck at it. One of them takes the eye out of this corpse and pulls it forth with a wet sucking noise as it stands before you now, this crow eating this eyeball on its shoulder as it stands groaning, dragging this limb, this heavy tree limb behind it. It's very slow and clumsy, but it's moving closer to you as the others continue to groan and reach out, and you hear the creaking of the ropes and the limbs around you.
I make a motion. Totally. Let's go. Let's go do what we came here to do. And get out.
What are you proposing here? What would you like to do in this scenario?
Is there a door to this shelter that we're trying to get in towards, or no?
Yes, there is a door. It has been left open. It was pried open, and the items within it seem to have been thrown out into the open.
Okay, the last time we locked ourselves in a shelter to try to escape Romero's in episode 1 did not go super good. But maybe I forgot about that by now. I motioned to Digger to go towards the shelter. Intention is to double dash, go super fast, to get in there and close the door to give us some time.
All right. So, what I need you to do is to make a dodge roll, please.
Oh, first roll of the night. How are we gonna go? Dodge. Do I have any gear? Doot. Nope.
Yeah, you left almost everything behind. Right. Digger has been helping you survive with nothing.
Right.
And so that's part of the lesson that you've learned in the wilderness this past
week. Have I learned anything?
Maybe.
That's 4 failures, so.
Well, with 4 degrees of failure, you do not dodge this Romero that lunges forward as you try to dash towards the entrance of this bunker. You can see Digger is holding onto his shovel and is maneuvering himself. However, before anything else can be done, you have been grabbed. And I will tell you that since you have 4 degrees of failure, the degrees of difficulty for this Romero are considerable. They are 3, meaning that I can change that out for a bite.
What if? Hold on.
Yeah, so
I
we
have
should do
competency.
something about it because it is shockingly, despite the fact that it has been slowed by the noose and it's just rolled exceptionally well. So the degrees of difficulty the difference is 3, which means that I can trigger a bite unless you do something about that. So you can lessen your degrees of failure.
Yes. Doing that. I will. This is very scary. I'm gonna just make that. What? I'm like looking at the clock. How many hours of the show do we have left? I'm gonna use 3 competency, so that I only have 1 degree of failure, and it's not super bad.
Yeah. So with 1 degree of failure, I'm not able to trigger a bite.
Okay.
However, there is one degree of difference then. Nope, sorry, it is not. It has grabbed you though. So while there is no damage, the 2 of you are locked together as it has a hold of you, and it is pulling at you, and you feel its dead, slimy hands rake across your shoulders and try to pull you into it. And you can see its snarling, jagged visage as its teeth clamp in the air just inches away from your neck, and you pull back at the last possible moment. It drools gore forth, and Digger is going to attempt. Digger steps forward and shoves the dead back and pushes it down onto the ground off of you, holding you in place. So Digger has managed to take your opponent, drop them to the ground, looks down at you, and then points to the bunker, but then points up.
What? I look up real quick. Above me or above the bunker?
Climb to the top.
Okay, all right. I do that thing. I try to dash over there.
All right, you are going to move over into that space. At that point, the rest of the dead begin breaking free from their ropes. So
can I run for the trees?
Not all of the branches break, but the ropes seem to have been specifically weakened in a way where perhaps someone has cut through them partially.
Ah, bummer.
And so as they move, having been alerted to the noise, these ropes begin to sway and break. And you do see now on these other branches, someone has chopped through portions of the branch to make them weaker. And so as these dead become agitated and move, this becomes a very active and very intentional trap. 3 more dead hit the ground from the trees.
Cool.
And we'll come back to you.
Okay.
Rowan, you're not certain how long you have been asleep. It's been a very long time. The burns across your body and your face and your arm throb and pulse. There is a warm heat that seems to linger over them. While it doesn't burn, this persistent and permanent generation of heat reminds you of the fire that has scarred you so deeply. It seems inescapable. Now it's constantly with you, and for quite some time, it felt like torture. But it doesn't feel like torture any longer. You've made peace with it. Now, this unbelievable warmth across this portion of your body, it helps you focus. You're lying in bed, your wounds have been attended to, your bandages are changed every day. The skin has stopped peeling away along with those bandages. In the reflection of a tray, you had seen your face, but you've not yet truly assessed the damage. Riggs has been in daily as well, has been assessing you when you were conscious about what's happening throughout the Citadel. The last thing that Riggs told you before you fell asleep, however, was that they had been found. They had located the Rag and Bone, those members of the Ender line that you had tangled with. They're being followed.
Oh shit! Where'd you find them at? I thought for sure they were like blasted away into smithereens at this point. That whole forest was on fire.
Look, they're good. I think you knew that. They wouldn't be alive if they weren't. But some of our folks, they're better. And you'd given the order. Everybody around here knows that you've paid your dues. You've always done what needs to get done for us, Rowan. And if finding these pieces of shit and bringing them back here so that they can face what they've done, well, that seems like justice to us.
Well, I appreciate that. I have a few words I feel I need to share with them after, this.
You're just as pretty as you've ever been. Don't you worry about that. But I'll say this much. Nobody is going to lay a hair on their heads. They might be a little battered up, depending on how feisty they get when we find them, but it's all going to be yours.
I appreciate that. Haven't quite decided what to do about that yet. Again, words, and then after that, a couple of options.
Sure. You want me to get the swimming hole ready?
That was one of the options I was thinking. See, that's why I like you, Riggs. You and I, we're on the same page, buddy.
The other thing, that Lampwick Joker?
Yeah, how'd that go?
I don't know what his game is. I thought you told me he was some sort of fast talker.
He is. I kind of wonder if he's not doing that whole thing just to save his ass, or if he's really actually like, whoa, holier than thou bullshit all the way. But yeah, how did that go?
It seems like he's drinking their Kool-Aid.
Well, shit.
But then again, if he's a fast talker, fuck if I know. Look, regardless, this is the situation. We have a number of parlays set up. Turns out they want something from us, and they're willing to trade. We gave them everything that was left behind at that camp. We don't know exactly why they wanted it, but we think we do. We gave them everything, but we made sure that we got some of our big brains up on it. They took a lot of notes, and we've still got Kusanagi, and they don't seem to understand how big of a key that Pipsqueak is to this whole mess.
That's probably for the best, and no need to put him on the most wanted list of anybody. Best to keep him close to the chest.
Yeah, in fact, I've been keeping him in isolation. He's not real happy with it, but I gave him that entire lab you set up for him.
Yeah. How's he enjoying that, at least? Hopefully that's keeping him busy. We don't need him running away either.
He seems real happy with the situation. He's been, a little sensitive, but he seems like that type, He seems like he's been pampered a little bit too much, and I don't know how anyone makes it through these days and has any sort of idea of pampering left in them. That said, yeah, I don't know what his deal is either. I think that perhaps he's a bit of a con artist himself, but he knows his way around electrical equipment, and we've been making quite a few improvements. Management, to say the least, has been plum pickled happy with everything that he's put together.
Anything super interesting? Were you able to find on any of that shit before you passed it off?
Yeah. Well, again, not really my fucking forte, you know? I point the guns and scream and, you know, make a big show of it, do what need to be done. But like I said, we had some of the others take a look at it. And according to Kusanagi, what he's willing to tell us, that blockbuster character, there's a reason that his little safe house is important.
Do we know what that reason is?
It has something to do with those tapes. Hold on, I had them set up a little show and tell. You've already seen this, I think, but I wonder if you've really looked at it. Here, he walks over and he puts a tape in, and he presses play.
Okay, listen, I don't have a lot of time, and I don't know who will find this, but I pray that you do not lose hope. My name is Dr. Humanity, and I have a cure. I'm not safely able to record everything here, but I have a message the world needs to know. The virus, which has plagued us and devastated everything that we know and love, is not without weakness. I and a small group that rose out of the post the Center for Disease Control, have tested a radical antiviral which has produced a full and complete reversal of the devastating H195 virus. This message cannot end with you. Pass it on, make copies, and spread the truth. I leave it to the Good Samaritans and the Silent Sentinels, those who never waver and always, whatever you do, trust them. Fear the...
When the tape ends, he turns back to you, Rowan, and he presses eject on the VCR, takes it, puts it back into a clamshell case, and sets it on top of it. There's multiple of these tapes that have been circulated around. Now, you know me, I'm a bit of a pragmatist myself, so I was a little curious as to why somebody would be doing all of this, right? Maybe it's a cry for help, or maybe it's someone who's just looking to jerk somebody else's chain so that they're willing to go into the middle of nowhere, seek them out, and carry their powdered ass wherever they want to go. Be a real good trick, telling people you knew something about something with all of this, how to help people. But turns out there's other tapes, that is, and that others have seen them. This 10-4 character over with the Ender's Line has been sharing them, along with all the food and water and all the other hoop-de-doo that we protect so they can do their due diligence and be good Samaritans.
You said there's no tapes. They all same, or?
No, they ain't the same. Little bits of different things. This thing has been spliced together so many fucking times, I don't even fucking know. Like,
Yeah,
we looked at the tape.
Hard to watch.
It's hard to fucking watch. I mean, not that anything's in great condition these fucking days, but it shouldn't be that hard to get a good signal out. It turns out members of that line have been taking this tape and making copies over and over again. But there are different versions of this tape with different pieces of that cry for help on it. Not only that, it turns out somewhere this blockbuster had a nice little tidy safe house full of weapons and gear, all kinds of goodies. Supposedly in a really well hidden place. You see, Kusanagi wasn't really willing to talk too much about it and acted pretty dumb. However, turns out he's not the only one who knew about it. It's a bit of a urban legend. If you can believe that shit, there's enough of us to have an urban legend out there. But it turns out that this safe house, this place that this blockbuster built, has a lot of valuable resources and is so well protected, it might be worth taking a look at.
Well, I think we're gonna have to do a little picking of Kusanagi's brain.
Yeah.
Try and get him to talk a little bit more than he's been letting up.
I also fucking wonder what your friends at the Ender's Line know. So if you are so inclined, you know, before you peel their faces off or feed them to the swampy bottom of the swimming hole, perhaps you inquire a little bit more about what they think they've got figured out.
You know, not a lot of people like to talk these days. I have a very strong feeling I might get to do both things at once.
Sounds good to me. You need me to bring the cigar cutters?
I'll bring everything you got. Let's see the entire arsenal. We'll choose them.
We'll treat it like fucking Christmas.
Deal.
Lampwick. You're sitting on the edge of a carriage. It's a wooden wagon with a very well-built top. It's completely concealed. There are a pair of wooden, well-carved double doors on the back of it. The entire thing has been painted a very glossy black. The wheels are made of steel. It's being pulled by a horse. That horse is covered from head to toe in blankets. It has blinders on. Also completely black. This is how they have been traveling with you. A number of them. Only a small cell of the individuals that, for now, are being called the shepherds. There is someone standing next to you. They have a featureless white mask. They are wrapped head to toe in black cloth and have a hood. Your shirt is off, and they are tending to your wounds. Next to them is a small wooden table, and inside of the carriage are a number of cushioned seats. A container that contains some of the small items that they travel with, some dried meat, some water, although you've seen very few of them, if any, actually eat. You've been fed, you've been cared for. They don't stop for camp, but they have been traveling now, moving across the area where you had had your meeting. You and the others had made an agreement. You would go to the Citadel. There would be a conversation. And if things went well, the Citadel would align with the Hand of Malachi, for now. Brother Noah is watching you from a distance. He's standing off in a tree line. His hands are behind his back, and he looks serene. He's been standing very still, doing very little. From time to time, he will turn, and it looks as though he's whispering into the woods. Praying, perhaps. It is dark. You feel this figure work their way across the gash on your side. It has been healing, slowly. They stitched you back up. They cared for you. The figure reaches into a bag and pulls out a hypodermic needle.
Do I recognize? Do I notice that there's a liquid inside of it, or is he taking the needle and then filling it with something, or is it already got a fluid in it?
It has nothing in it.
Okay.
The figure takes your arm. Do you resist?
I don't. I'm assuming he's taking my blood.
The figure pierces your skin with a needle. You feel a sharp jab. But the figure is careful, precise. Striking a vein, you see your blood slowly fill the vial. The figure stoppers it, places it back into the bag, withdraws the needle, and bandages your wound. Small strip of cloth is placed over the point where you have been pierced. The rest of your wounds are dressed, and you are free to put your shirt back on as the individual wordlessly, they do not speak to you. Wordlessly gathers these things, loads them onto the back of the carriage, and moves on. Brother Noah, however, Brother Noah Hayworth, looks over to you and beckons you forward.
He read my mind. I was going to approach, but I get closer to him, and as I approach, I say to Brother Noah, it looked like you were in prayer earlier. May I join you? Or at least in some sort of meditation.
You may indeed. It is prayer. I am always in prayer. Soon enough, Brother Lampwick, you too will hear what I hear. You will see what I see.
What did you, if you are willing to share, what did you hear just now?
It will take you time. As I've said to you many times before in these few days that we have known one another, your journey has just begun. This will take more willpower and strength than you have ever exhibited before. But you have accepted baptism. You have relinquished your past. And you seek what we all seek. Glory in the eyes of the prophet, to bring forth a world of peace and greater understanding, to see the great work complete. And you ask me now, what do I hear? Brother Lampwick, close your eyes.
I do close my eyes, and if he's close to me, I reach and take his hand and grip it with a kind of ferventness.
He holds your hand up, and with his other hand, you can tell now that he's facing you. He's touching the front of your forehead. Listen. Focus. Ignore all else around you. The wind, the trees, the creaking of those branches in the distance. Block all of it out, Brother Lampwick. All I want for you to hear now is the sound of my voice. I want you to focus on the sound of my voice, brother. Only the sound of my voice matters in this moment. It will guide you through the darkness that surrounds you. That darkness is becoming blacker, inkier than anything that you have ever seen before. I want you to focus and to fall deeper into that dark place. And I would like for you to do nothing more than to listen to the sound of my voice as I open your mind's eye and show you the reality that the prophet has brought before you. And he continues on in this droning speech. What is your willpower?
My willpower is 3. It's a 3 and a 2.
Okay, so 32 is your willpower. All right. And so with your willpower, let me see if do you have any specialty skills, Lampwick, that would allow you to bolster a willpower check?
Let me see.
I don't think you do. I'm checking here as well. So let's have you make just a straight willpower check.
Okay.
I'm going to add 2 dice of difficulty to that because you have been indoctrinated with a lot of conversation over these past couple of days from Brother Hayworth. Let me pull that there. Hold on. You can, let me correct that. We'll build your dice pool. So you have your core stats. Now we need to place that into one of your rolls on roll 20. So you should be able to do so.
Something that corresponds with 32.
Yeah,
I have a couple of options.
Yeah, so choose that and go ahead and
Great.
make that with 2 black dice.
Got it.
If I'm correct, I was sensing that you were having trouble finding it in roll 20. Okay, great.
Right.
Yeah, just go ahead and hit that roll and we'll see how you do.
Great.
Okay, that is 5 degrees of failure.
Mm-hmm.
Do you wish to use any of your competency to mitigate that failure?
Yes, I'm going to use all of them to make that a success.
All right. So you have 6 competency and you're going to spend them all.
I am. And
Now, the only thing
is not a diplomacy thing.
No, and the thing about it is that it is a contested role, and so you are dealing with a series of successes on someone else's side, and then luckily what you've done is you've removed the degrees of difference, which would have allowed me to trigger different things.
Got it.
So here's what happens. Lampwick, you are hypnotized, but this hypnosis, while not fully taking hold, seems to have a very weakened placement in your mind. You're aware of what's happening and you resist it, but the droning speech and all of that does relax you, and you find yourself being led through a series of thought. He is describing to you things, and as he describes them to you, sure enough, you feel them, you hear them, and in that black inkiness of your mind, you see them. Brother Lampwick, are you with me? Are you with me here, truly, standing aside me in the dark?
I am in the dark, and all I see is the dark, and all I hear is you. And you feel close.
Do you hear them, Brother Lampwick? Do you hear them in the woods? The dead. Romeros, they're called by some. Wandering there lost. And Lampwick. Help us. Help us. Help us. Help us. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back in 5 minutes. Welcome back to Hunters Entertainment on Twitch.tv. My name is Knoxweiler Burf, and this is Outbreak, Rag and Bone. Thank you for joining us. We are continuing our tale now, and we hope that you have done everything that you can to ensure that the Scry program below is being utilized in the best possible fashion. There are some very intriguing options that have been made available to you this week. And thanks to your diligence, each of these players has received an additional competency point due to the number of subscriptions and follows that you have helped provide. Our Undead moderators will continue to let you know what those resources are and how you can interact with them. But we should continue our story. Our time is short. Achira, you don't know how long you passed out. You fell asleep. You didn't think it was possible, but the larger tree that you had found yourself within was much more secure. The wide bough of it, the branches thick and sturdy, have given you a certain amount of comfort that you were unable to find in the other tree, the one that you had spent much of your time hiding in as the dead passed below. Romero's, as far as the eye can see, more than you had seen since you had been trapped in Grey Ridge. Now, however, as you wake, you notice that they are far fewer, much more scattered. And while still present and dangerous, they are not as tightly knit as they once were. There are entire sections that you can see the ground of still within this horde. Pockets of safety. Spaces that you might be able to navigate through should you choose. On the old, rusted, overgrown rail line, the yellow brick, you see the remains of both your camp and what the Citadel left behind. There are scattered remains, weapons and parts of their vehicles that they had left behind. There is the small, low-burning fire that was caused from the explosion when the gas tank on the truck took flame after the grenade ignited. It still burns lowly, but it doesn't seem as if it will spread at this point. There's still black smoke lingering in the area. What would you like to do?
Well, there's a balance between being overly cautious and then knowing to get out while the getting out's good.
Indeed.
With Achira looking around, she doesn't know if another horde might come by. She's going to take her chances now to be able to put some distance between her and this spot. Whatever direction seems the most clear to her, no matter where she's trying to end up, is the direction that she'll go to get away.
You are in a location hazard, as you are surrounded by pockets of the dead, and a day has passed. However, these are the same dead that have lingered. I will be expending no additional risk to have them remain where they were. Many of them have wandered off, and it seems that their horde is beginning to break apart. There are large pockets that will allow you to travel. However, if you're looking simply for safety, to get as far away from this horde as possible, your best option is to go the way that the Citadel had left. They had cleared out a large swath of the horde when they had made their egress, and in doing so, it seems as though the horde has never truly recovered in that vicinity. There is a wide pocket of empty space. You can see a number of the rail tracks stretching off into the distance. There are some trees on either side, but it does open up into a much broader area, one that is, it's easier to see everything on the horizon line. So with the open fields that it provides, it would at least give you a good indication of what lies ahead of you. Currently, if you go backwards, back towards the area that you, Digger, and Juniper were traveling in, you will find yourself in a much tighter area with a tree line that is much closer to where the rail is. The dead are still present there, and they do seem heavier, as that is the area that they had come from.
Ichiro would definitely go, she'd treat the Citadel as her, I guess what would be as her defensive line, her blocker. Oh, football. Yeah, football term. She would go that direction since it's already been partially cleared for her.
All right. You begin moving carefully down from the tree. The first thing that I need you to do is to make a climbing check. And you'll have one black die of difficulty given your situation. You are still sporting a leg wound.
But I have that good climbing gear that I got before. So.
And since you've abandoned everything but the bare essentials, you are able to use that gear, however, to improve your situation. So please make the roll, and we'll see how you do.
Okay, it's a climb roll. All right.
That is 4 degrees of success. You'll need 2 of them to make it down in one piece without any sort of impediment. But once you're on the ground, you're going to have these 2 additional unused successes, which I'm going to allow you to roll over into your next roll. Does it sound fair?
That sounds very fair.
So if you then are going to begin carefully moving amongst the dead, I'm going to have you make a stealth check for me.
Do I still have a degree of difficulty?
You have 1 dice of difficulty given your wound. So because it is a leg wound and it's harder for you to move, it is impeding your movement slightly. The dead are all around you. They are some distance away, and they are meandering in these aimless pockets, sort of standing in one area and groaning and looking off into the distance with cold, dead eyes. None of them seem to focus upon you, and so far you've been very quiet. However, you realize that any sort of noise will potentially alert them to your presence and draw all of them upon you. It's like you're carefully navigating through a dangerous sea of the dead, as these pockets are able to be activated at any moment with these larger swaths of open terrain. Now, you have 1 degree of success, but you have the 2 that you carried over from climbing down from the tree, so you have 3 degrees of success, which I'm going to have you use all of those to carefully and quietly make your way down this pathway across the yellow brick, the rail line that was directed to you from 10-4. And I'd like for you to make a spot listen check with 2 black dice of difficulty, please.
I wish I had anything else that could go into this. We'll see. I don't. Okay.
It's going to be a straight roll.
Okay.
That is 1 degree of success. Very impressive. As you are carefully moving through, you get to the area that had been left behind by Rowan and the rest of the Citadel, where their vehicles had been. And something catches your eye. A glint of metal in the sunlight, even though it's gray and overcast. A small stray spark of sunlight catches a piece of metal, and your eye immediately is drawn to it. It is an earring. One that you recognize.
Achira would go over to it, still paying attention to the dead around her. But if she can find a path to it, she would.
They do not seem to notice you. You get closer, and you see first this wild, dark, curly hair with these small streaks of pink and bleached blonde in them. And you recognize the hair as Arya's. You desperately hope to be able to see the rest of her body, but you realize that it's just a severed head. You don't see her face. It is turned away from you. Achira, do you continue forward?
She would. She would continue over, shocked. And those, earrings are everywhere. That could be anybody's earring.
You fight against what you know to be true.
Because it can't be true.
You continue forward. The grass around you brushes across your hands. Everything else drifts away, and you're only focused on the back of that head, and you realize that it's in a pool of gore. The back of the skull has been broken open. It isn't normal. This isn't just a Romero attack. This is something else. You know that the head has been severed. You see no body. There are other remnants of your camp that have been scattered here. Things that must have been gathered by the Citadel. This is where their vehicle was. They were the ones that were here. The lights from their jeeps and the trucks that they had rebuilt, filled with all of their soldiers. You don't know how. Her head is here, but it's up to you, Achira. Do you turn it over so that you can see her face?
Achira doesn't use her hands. She uses a jacket or something that's on the ground to gently turn the face over so that she can see. To be sure, because it can't be this.
You get closer. Jacket wrapped around your hand, Achira. And as you reach forward, all that you can think about her voice, and the two of you retelling 16 candles together, describing the scenes.
Inaudibly to herself, like Achira's mouth is moving and her head, her voice is coming out loud and clear, but there's nothing coming out of her mouth. But what she's thinking so hard right now is, no, no, baby, no. This can't be. No.
For a moment, you remember her cold hands wrapped around that chain link fence as the two of you connected when you thought that you were going to die. You turn her face towards yours. What is your morale?
Total of 5.
You lose 3 points of morale. You see her face. Dead, cold, gray. Her eyes are open and blank. Her mouth is slack. And her jaw has been broken. In this moment, in the terror of seeing this beautiful woman who had struggled against impossible odds and found her strength in you, who had denied the demons that had followed her for so long and had removed the need for the drugs that she had so long leaned upon. With no other aid except your support and the hope that maybe you would live through your time trapped below ground. This beautiful woman is dead before you. Her body nowhere to be seen. And in this moment of horror, you do, however, very clearly realize that her head has been cleanly removed from her body with a sharp instrument.
Achira realizes that she was executed. Achira is in a crouching fetal position, staring in Arya's face. And all she can think of, besides her memories of Arya, in her head she says, "Why didn't you stay with Lampwick? He would have kept you safe." And she thinks, the Citadel will burn for this. Every member, all of them, for what they've done to you. She takes the jacket and very gently tries to clean a little bit of her face, just using it, and then takes the jacket and puts it over. The earring, was it attached to her or was it on the ground?
It was on the ground next to her. It had fallen off, but it was hers.
Achira takes that earring.
It's a small golden lightning bolt.
All of the Citadel will burn for this. And Lampwick will have to explain why Arya wasn't with him. Our Achira's got a new reason to head the way that Citadel came.
All right. I'd like for you to make a survival check for me as you are going to attempt to make your way into some unknown territory and push yourself closer to where the Citadel resides.
Survival is a expert skill where I have like a 6 in. Is there any way I
Yeah.
could do navigation?
Let's have you do navigation,
Okay.
and I will just have you add a single black die of difficulty to that.
For navigation, any way I can utilize recon gear?
Yes.
With this. Okay.
You can use your recon gear as you are going to carefully track yourself forward, watching the tree lines, moving carefully into the wilderness. You know that you're breaking away from the Ender's line and the pathways that you've traveled in your short time with them.
There it
All right.
is. I wondered where that
Yeah.
was.
So yeah, it was here. It was 4 degrees of failure, and I need to know, since you do have competency now, do you wish to use any of it to correct this?
I'm going to use 5 to make it 1 degree of success.
All right. So with 1 degree of success, you do begin making your way along the pathway. You do follow the tire treads and the tracks left behind by the vehicles from this area. And you think that you're doing it correctly, although it's a little harder to tell as soon as they get into open field. You, for the next couple of days, are following what you think to be the tracks. You then lose the tracks and continue on. It is at that point that we need to have a discussion. Are you traveling during the day or at night?
Achira travels at night.
All right. Are you stopping to camp?
She camps, but not with fire. She knows not to do that. She always goes someplace high, or in lieu of that, someplace low and dark.
All right. Are you pushing yourself to the limits of your ability to make this journey, or are you resting given the state of your leg?
Achira is burning ice cold. She knows that she needs to take care of herself, and she has to plan. Because pushing her body further than it can go will not get revenge for Arya. She has to be in good health. She has to be as stealthy and sneaky as she can be. And most importantly, the Citadel should not see that it's coming.
All right. So if that is the case, I think the most important takeaway from this is that you need to make a stealth check. It is going to be first, I think, we're going to have you make a spot listen check first. And there is only 1 black dice of difficulty on that. And then after the spot listen check, we'll discuss your stealth check. And this is over the course of a couple of days as you're carefully picking your way through the wild areas, burnt out cities. There are patrols, and you very quickly come to know that the Citadel is not lax in having individuals guard the area around them. You have 1 degree of success. Do you wish to do anything to improve the 1 degree of success, or do you want to keep it at a single degree?
I can give 1 more.
All right. So you're going to spend a competency point to raise that to 2 degrees of success.
These roving patrols that I'm going through, would they count as location hazards?
So you are moving through burnt-out cities. There are patrols moving through. The location itself is not a hazard. It is not going to generate competency points. There will be an opportunity for that in the near future, however. We're doing a larger time jump than I would allow a competency point to really kind of be generated for just a patrol. All right? So, with 2 degrees of success, how many competency points do you have left, Chira?
I have 4 left.
All right. Now, you do spot these patrols, these scouts from the Citadel, and you manage to hide yourself fairly well from them. You don't think that they see you. You see them first. What I would like for you to do is to make a stealth check that is going to determine whether or not you're able to make it closer to the Citadel before things become much more serious.
Is that still 1 degree of difficulty?
It is 1 degree of difficulty, yes, given that you still are nursing a leg wound.
Damn.
So that's 3 degrees of failure. Now, I have been accumulating a very large pool of risk. If you would like to increase that pool of risk, I can purchase 2 of those degrees of failure from you for 25 each.
Well, it seems like at this point everybody else has spent points to up the risk, so why don't I do what the cool kids have done? Maybe that'll go back on Lampwick, since he put a whole lot of risk in that pot last game.
Indeed.
So, yeah, I'll take you up on buying 2 of those for a total of 50 risk.
So I will increase my risk by 50, and you have 1 degree of failure to deal with.
And I will use 2 competency points to make it 1 degree of success.
Very well. With 1 degree of success, you are able to carefully move through. You do not believe that anyone has seen you. You are picking through the remains of a burnt-out city and making your way back into a fairly wooded area. Everything here is overgrown, as you know, all the concrete has been shattered. There are vines and weeds that fill the streets, and trees are sort of taking back anything that was once built here. You pass by a completely wrecked, the remains of a gas station, and it is a hollow shell of what it once was. It's just a skeletal framework now of rotted board and steel and a collapsed ceiling, and there is growth all over it, dead leaves. And as you're moving through this area, you almost walk into another patrol. You manage to hide within that gas station. And there you see a number of vehicles, very large. They ramble past you, headed in the direction that you have come from.
Interesting.
I'll let you think about that, and we'll come back to you, Achira. Rowan, there is a knock at your door. It is about a week later.
Yeah, who the hell is it?
It's me. It's Jones. I was told to come and see if you needed anything.
Break every reflective surface in a 10-mile area would be nice. Other than that, moonshine and a smoke will do.
All right, all right. You hear the voice on the other side, and it sort of shuffles through. Your room has been stocked up. You have been healing here for a while. Nobody has come to visit you in a while. Riggs has been checking in daily, but just giving you the perfunctory sort of updates as to what's been happening and you know, where they have been traveling to try to figure things out. However, when Jones comes back with a bottle and a small box that's filled with these hand-rolled cigarettes and places them down on the side table next to your bed, he stops and he looks back. You know, people are asking questions, and I don't want to step out of line here, ma'am, but I was curious. When you gear up to go after the Enders, are you going to take a lot of us with you? Are you going to let us come along, or are you going to do this quiet?
Do you want to come? Are you volunteer?
Oh yeah, a lot of us want to come along. We want to get a piece, ma'am.
I appreciate your enthusiasm. Yeah. I think if you want to come and you want to round up a couple of friends and get some troops together, yeah, I think you can come. The thing is I want them taken alive, though, so, like, don't get too trigger happy there. We got to get some information out of them. And then depending on how that conversation goes, we'll figure out what to do from there. Then you might get your fun.
Riggs appears in the doorway. Jones, get the fuck out of here. Stop bothering her. She's trying to heal, kid. Come on.
No, hey, let the kid talk, all right? He's trying to help, and we appreciate that, don't we, Riggs?
Yeah, sorry, kid. I'm on edge. It's, I don't know. It's just something in the fucking air. Look, beat it, okay? I gotta talk to Rowan. And Jones kind of like does kind of a nod, half salute thing, and awkwardly steps out as another one of these younger kids that you and the Citadel have taken on under your wing seems to show even more bloodthirstiness than you had expected. Riggs steps in, closes the door, and then turns to you. So I thought you would want to be involved. However, you haven't been out. And I think now perhaps it's time for you and I to have a little heart-to-heart. We have a rendezvous set up with your buddy Lampwick and these, I don't know, religious freaks. And I figured that if I did it on my own, what happened to that side of your face would look like a boo-boo compared to what you would do to me. So I sort of have come into you hat in hand here. I'd like to take it on myself, but if you want to be there, I'll make it happen.
I think, does Rowan know how well she's doing physically? Like, would she think it was a smart idea to go?
You feel up to it. As to whether or not it's a smart idea, that's up to you. You've healed enough that you can move. If you got into combat for whatever reason, it would put you at risk. So I'll leave it to you. And again, Riggs seems to be very willing to assist you. And to take on the responsibility of having you come along with them, right? But he's expressing some concern here. So the choice is up to you as a player.
What do you know about this rendezvous, Riggs? How many of them is going to be? Is it just Lampwick, or is it going to be the whole family?
Well, they thought they were being real clever. They do have a few people that usually lurk off in the distance. We haven't seen any sort of long-ranged rifling on their part. We don't know exactly what they can do. It doesn't seem like they're the sort to do much of anything when it comes to throwing down in the middle of a fight. It's sort of why we're real interested. Management has been very clear about the need to, find out everything that we can because they're concerned. Now, I think we could keep you covered and fine. Frankly, cards on the table, I don't really want to deal with Lampwick. I don't know the fucker, and I don't like how I've heard he tends to work people over with his mouth. And that may fly straight for some others, but I'm sure as fuck not going to put up with it. I'll just put a bullet in his head. And I think that might get me into some hot water.
All right, so that being said, I go with you. You keep an eye on the deranged carnies that swarm around Lampwick, and I'll deal with Lampwick myself. Does that sound like a deal?
Yeah, we could do that. I just, I want to be perfectly clear here. You know, like, a lot of these kids really look up to you, and you've, over the course of everything that just happened, you managed to sort of outstrip some of us other lieutenants and have kind of found yourself in legendary status around here. And I'm perfectly fine with that. My ego can take the fucking hit. God knows it's fucking big enough. But I think that over the long haul here, you should be prepared for a lot of gawking and some rubbernecking. Most likely, they're not going to let this just go. And I think some of them are going to try to prove themselves a little bit more than the others. So we need to keep a sharp fucking eye on that, because I refuse to have these troops flying off hot and heavy trying to make a go at impressing you.
I understand how that could be a problem. I have noticed that there has been a slight increase in the bloodthirstiness in the young ones, which, to be honest with you, I'm kind of not mad at. But I can understand how you would, want to make sure they don't go shooting when they shouldn't be.
Yeah, listen, if they can do that.
I expect that. I expect a lot of that. I used to wear that mask, the one it burned up in the fire, but I used to wear it to like instill fear in opponents. But to be honest with you, I think this is much worse.
Yeah. You've definitely superseded that mask. Let's
If I'd have known all it was going to take for a little respect was to take a grenade to the dome, I'd have done it years ago. Maybe.
Well, I'm going to take that as an A, all right. And I'm going to rally the troops. We're going to get the gear together, and we're going to start to move. Now, the other thing that I mentioned, there's been a sharp eye on the individuals that you had spoken of.
Yeah.
Do we bring them in before this goes down or after this goes down?
After, if we can help it. You know what? No, I take that back. Do it maybe before, because here's the thing. If we run into our friend Lampwick and he is in fact just kind of telling the shepherds what they want, just so that he doesn't, get got by them, so to speak, then we could take great joy in reuniting him with his friends before we probably inevitably have to kill at least one of them. Maybe use them as a bargaining chip to get him back.
There's going to be a lot of disappointed folks out there if you don't kill at least one of them. I'm just saying that. Like I don't want to put my vote out there because you know how I feel. I say fucking kill them all, and we'll sort it out later. I'm sure that would make a good enough point. But that said, we had already discussed this. This is on you, all right? You decide who lives and who dies in this scenario because, well, hell, they really fucked your face up.
I appreciate you saying so. Not that they fucked my face up, but that it's my say. I mean, I know they fucked my face up. Still, real talk, if we could just destroy every reflective surface, that'd be
we're doing what we can. I mean, you know, some of the troops don't want to get rid of their shaving mirrors, but other than that, I think we've pretty much removed anything that'll be problematic to you. But look, I'm going to let you get ready. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to alert the troops and let them go ahead and take care of things here. By the way, swimming hole's all primed up, ready to go. You give me the word, and yeah, we'll teach them how to swim.
Get the water wings ready, boys.
You fucking And he stands and walks out, picks up a smoke, lights it on his way out. You're left there to get ready, and you're able to do so. You're pulling, you know, there's a fresh like you have the best of the best. Like between management and Riggs and everybody else in the Citadel, they have provided you with very adequate replacements for all of the gear that you lost. There's a fresh, it's not a new leather jacket. It's got it's earned its wear. This belonged to somebody at some point, but it's a perfect fit for you. And you got a bunch of gear in there and a few changes of clothes. Everything that you like to wear, they found some sort of replacement for. And so you're able to get dressed, pull your boots on. Everything's a little bit of a chore, and you feel pretty sensitive to all of this. And sure enough, as you get ready, you're free to step out. Do you want to make your way out into the courtyard?
Yeah.
All right. So Rowan, you walk down the corridor for the first time in a few days, a week more or less, as you make your way out into the day, and you feel the sun upon your face, and you see a number of the Citadel stop what they're doing, and a whole lot of heads start turning towards you. And in the center of the courtyard, you see Sharky working on a tank. It is the tank that was used at Grey Ridge. And there are a few other vehicles that are spread out here. And you can see that there's a lot of machinery that has been laid out. And he's got the whole thing more or less taken apart. There are a couple of other houses in the area. There's a windmill that has been used to help to, generate resources for this community. Everything has been fenced in. There is a number of cyclone fencing, razor wire fortifications that have been placed all along the exterior. There are brick and mortar interior walls that have been constructed. And despite some of the lighter elements to the Citadel, some of the more freedoms that are apparent, this place operates with a certain amount of military efficiency. And that is due to the fact that so many members of the Citadel have been very, very well trained. Either they are actual military personnel that have survived the end of days, or they have been trained directly and raised by numbers of individuals within the Citadel who brought them up with the same training and knowledge that they themselves had been given when they were in service. There's a lot of bravado here. There's a lot of steam that gets blown off. Things are a little wild, but when you compare it to what the world outside looks like, this is the closest thing to order that certainly anyone within the Citadel has ever seen. There are other communities, there are other groups, but just like Grey Ridge, more often than not, they end up killing themselves, putting themselves into situations where people who shouldn't have been trusted are given the keys to the community, and the entire thing burns because of it. And part of the Citadel's founding premise was to protect those who are unwilling or too stupid to protect themselves. And that's something that has paid off. There are a number of outpost communities and other groups that look to the Citadel for their survival. Now, the Ender's Line is something that has been attached to the Citadel now for a few years. Tin4, the leader of that group, is very persuasive and very amicable, willing to negotiate, understanding that, this isn't about power or ownership in their mind. It is about providing resources and generating income from those resources that allow others to be able to build bigger and better generations of resource. It's about creating sustainable economies and an environment that will allow everyone to benefit from it. All of that, very understood. However, the way that you have been trained and raised up as military personnel, having seen firsthand exactly how shit hit the fan, watching as the world collapsed into chaos, and how even the people that you were trying to save were ungrateful and dangerous. You really have found a home here. You've been well taken care of. And you know that the Citadel, if given the opportunity, can do great things. You come out into the courtyard, and there is a small tent that has been erected. It is a military pop-up sort of situation. It's covered in green canvas. It's been perhaps seen better days, but it's been stitched up. And it's about the size of a mess tent. And perhaps, 20 feet in total length. And the flaps of it have been pulled over to the side. You see a number of the Citadel guards standing on the outside of it. And out in the center of the courtyard is a wooden carriage. The very strange-looking horse that has been draped in black material. It has blinders on. There are 2 individuals standing outside of the tent with the Citadel guards. They're wearing white face masks. As someone who has worn masks to try to intimidate people in the past, you find these unsettling. However, you understand their tactical use. They're also wrapped in black fabric. They have a hood, a black hood, that they have pulled up over the rest of their face. You see none of their features. No skin, nothing. They're standing with some of the guards. They seem unarmed. Riggs is standing in the doorway. You want to do this?
Yeah. The white face masks. It's a nice touch.
Yeah, I can't say I've seen that from them before. Just the ones wearing all black, walking through the woods, preaching the word of their prophet or whoever the fuck they're following.
It's a little off-putting. Not gonna lie. But yeah, I guess let's go do this.
All right. Riggs follows after you, and you can see that he's got a sidearm. Do you have a weapon on you?
Unless I was instructed not to, then yeah, I would bring my guns with me.
Okay, so you've got replacements for all the weapons that you had. Those are all on there. And you step through the tent, and sitting there, you see Lampwick. And next to Lampwick, you see one of these figures, these white masked figures, standing behind him.
Well, shit. How you holding up there?
Well, it looks to me like I'm holding up a little bit better than you are. What happened to your face?
Oh, you remember that same little friend of yours that decided to snap our doctor's neck? She decided to hit me with an arrow while I was in the middle of trying to protect everyone.
Oh, yeah.
Dropped a grenade right on my face.
Huh. That's kind of ironic, though, isn't it? That you tried to dynamite us in this like cave-in, but then you're the one that got blown up.
To be fair, I never tried to blow any of you up. I tried
That's
to
true.
contain a problem.
I'm not judging.
And
I'm just saying.
possibly save you from being eaten alive by things that might have been trying to get to you.
I just wanted to test to see if your, your
Context.
sense of humor was still intact and that didn't get singed. But it's good to see that it's still there. We have a lot to talk about.
Yeah. I would imagine it's such interesting crowd you found yourself with.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'd like to talk to you one-on-one. If that's possible.
She ain't doing fucking fuck all for you unless she gives the go ahead. You understand?
That's why I'm asking her and not you.
I already fucking hate him.
And I know Riggs here's not a big fan of yours, but I told him that you and I went back, and just running through the mines, good old times.
Yep.
I'd be more than happy to talk to you. But see now, Riggs here's gonna want to make sure that this isn't a trap of some sort. You're not gonna kidnap me, take me somewhere. So just be aware that if you do, your whole little haven will probably burn to the ground within a couple of weeks.
He and his Jesus freaks know damn well that they're not walking out of these fences if they try anything dumb. We made that perfectly clear when they walked in here, Rowan.
Yeah, that's not at all what I'm here for. I'm actually just here to talk. That's it. So why don't we do that instead of all of this, like dick sizing up, I mean, we can do that later if you want, but that's not what I'm really interested in doing right now.
Hers is fucking bigger, I guarantee it.
Oh, I've seen it, and it's quite big.
Thank you both. I appreciate you from my heart and soul. But all right. All right, where do you suggest that we go talk?
Somewhere private.
Without these guys.
You tell me. We're on your turf.
Is that tent over there far enough away? We clear everybody out of here?
I'm gonna turn to look to. Is Brother Noah is he here with us?
No, Brother Noah did not come with you. You were sent with the messengers that you have been traveling with, and you were sent alone. Brother Noah was clear. He had already told you what the motives here were, and was hopeful that you would be able to build some inroads and to make it very clear what that relationship would be like. He's trusting you to make this work.
So let's go to that tent, but just the two of us. No, we really need to talk. Just the two of us.
All right.
The two of you step out. There's another tent across the way, and you make your way there. And it's a small supply tent that has a few boxes and crates in it. There are some chairs and a card table. You can see that somebody was playing a round of solitaire. Cards are laid out on the table. There is a bottle of water and a cigarette ashtray with a couple of hand-rolled cigarettes inside of it. You're alone.
All right. So, I guess I can just get started. I mean, I correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't want to jump the gun and I don't want to make assumptions, but I feel like you've been very clear all along about what you're about. And we talked a long time ago, and you said to me that I owed you for saving my life, which you did, and I appreciate it. But that part of what I was to do was to join you. Do you remember that conversation? You had said, you're going to, I mean, I don't know how serious you were, but you said something along the lines of, you're going to come back to the Citadel with me, yada, 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 yada. I was a little in and out of consciousness, but I believe I remember you saying, making an offer for me to come with you.
You know, believe it or not, I think a lot of people get twisted what I'm really about. I wanted you to join us for your sake. What I find that I like the most in people is people who are useful and efficient. It's why a lot of us that are around here still have survived. And the ones that haven't, you usually see that shit coming from a mile away. But there's something about you, Lampwick. That, what do they call it? That the way you spout bullshit, silver-tongued devil. That shit's useful as fuck. Now, I wanted you here to keep you safe before you wound up with the wrong group.
Right. Well, thank you. I think that circumstances have made it possible for our relationship to continue in a more mutually beneficial way.
How so?
It's not so bad that I'm with the shepherds. And I know this sounds crazy. I know this sounds crazy. But they're onto something. And they have access to things, and they have a way to deal with the Romeros that is not just effective, but it is a game changer. And I know this sounds crazy, but there's a reason why they can do that. Look, the Romeros don't attack them.
Excuse me?
The Romeros don't seem to care to harm them in any way.
Like, how much so? Like, I mean, like, they walk up to any wild one and just, like, look it in the eye and, like, it knows deep in its soul that it shouldn't, like, bite their face off? Like, explain to me.
I haven't learned all the nuances of it yet, but what I do know is that that is actually happening. And that means that they have value to you.
Question for you. Also, help yourself to water, smoke, anything you want. We got here. Why does it seem like that big one seems to always be after that friend of yours, Shira? I tried tracking her down to locate her. Thought she caught on fire in the woods when this happened, but apparently we've seen her around. But whatever that thing is, if you're saying your people who kind of, have a way with them, was it you that sent that thing looking for her?
Okay, well, I don't know if... I don't know the answer to that because there was a portion of time when they first found me that I was not completely thinking straight. So I think going, and I need to start my own conversation with her.
Repeat yourself, Lampwick, please.
You're
Yes. I want us to make sure that Achira is safe. I need to continue this conversation, this kind of conversation with you, but I need to start it with her as well. So, How do I say this? Just how do I keep this plain and simple and direct to the point? I am offering you an alliance of sorts. I need you to work with me so that the Citadel and the Shepherds work together. I want to offer you an armistice between the two groups. That's going to give us a chance to build common ground between these two very powerful entities so that we can learn from each other, so that we each can benefit from each other. This is only happening because I've spent some time with the Shepherds and I've gained their trust, but because they know me and they know that I know you.
Couple things that strike me as odd here. You join a bunch of like peace-loving religious hippies talking about the love in your heart and soul, and the first instinct they have is join forces with the group that's got the most guns and boom boom toys. I don't know if that sinks into you just how different sides of the spectrum that is,
No.
but I appreciate that.
It's by design. Look, they're not fools. They know who the power players are, but they also know that they themselves are also one of those power players. And I'm telling you that you should not underestimate them.
Also, if they have a way with the Romeros, why do they need so much artillery?
I don't know that, but I want to find that out.
All right. Well, these are good questions to ponder on. You do have a way with words, Sir Lampwick, and I will tell you this much. I think as long as we can keep this up where you and I are the ones parlaying and you don't end up sending any more of the herd this way on kind of announced, no surprise visits from people singing weird nursery rhyme hymns, give people headaches. As you come forth as the spokesperson, and since Riggs hates you, I'll deal with you. And if we can see to this, I don't see anything wrong with a little bit of a peace treaty, but I am going to need some more information, even if that does come from you. So I'm going to need you to start picking at things a little harder.
I actually have even, I have something even better than that.
Oh, yeah?
I want you to come back with me.
That sounds terrifying.
It is, look, it is terrifying. I want you to see for yourself. And
you remember what I said about burning all the buildings to the ground if I go missing?
I'm not going, this is not a trick. This is not a trick. In fact, look, I'm going to be straight with you. I know somewhere deep down, this is going to sound strange. I really do see the potential in what good can come from this. I don't know them that well yet, but I'm trying to, because I actually think that they have something good going on. And I want to learn more. And I do think that the combination between what they have and what you guys have can fix so much of the shit that has been broken. I'm tired of the same shit again and again and again, meeting another group of vile people who are just out for themselves, willing to devour. I mean, who's devouring who? The dead or the living?
I think of it. We're all half dead and half living at this point, to be honest with you.
And I just want a way out. So, look, yeah, I want to build this bridge, but also I want you to come back. I want you to see this for yourself. I want you to bring a couple people, and I want you to have an exit strategy, because I don't know them completely, but I trust that they will be, I know they'll be open to you. I know they will be.
Here's the real question. If they do turn against us in some kind of trick, whose side are you going to be on? Ours or theirs when it comes down to it? If they pulled the wool over your eyes, telling you that this was going to be a peaceful encounter, and you see that these people bold-faced lied to you, what side are you going to be on then?
Well, the sad truth of it all is that I really don't think they're lying. In which case, I don't think it matters what side I would choose because I think it'd be too late for me to make that choice.
I love that I can never trip you up, you son of a bitch. All right. Okay, I'll come up there and we'll check out what's going on. I'll arrange a team of some of the less trigger happy folk that we have over here to come take a look at what it is that you got going on. Because if it's something that you think is really actually, my favorite word, useful, then I am very inclined to see what that is.
Very, very useful. And I think one of the keys for us to get to a better place. And I mean that. It's time to learn a new dance because this same old thing over and over again is not working.
Well, I think we all can agree on that.
Outside, further into the wilderness, it has taken you many days. A lot of careful, stealthy movement between shattered buildings, old, rotten trees, to get as close as you possibly could to what you now know, Achira, to be the central outpost of the Citadel. In fact, as far as you can tell, the series of buildings and walled fences that you're looking upon, further out that you've gone, further north than you've been in some time, is what they refer to as the Citadel. It looks very familiar to you. The buildings are older. They're worn. They're not the same. Not when you used to live here. The military outpost. The one that you had first found yourself at when the container was opened, when you had been brought from Atlanta all those years ago. You're looking at the Citadel, and you remember standing inside the halls of that building and pulling the trigger on that old couple. You remember all the nightmares that occurred within the walls, everything that you did to survive, the children, before you took them out, pulled them into a building, tried to raise them on your own, and eventually had to leave them behind. This is where your apocalypse began. What do you do?
Since Achira lived at that base, I know that she would have learned it like the back of her hand while she lived there.
Mm-hmm. Indeed you do. And there was a growing horror that kind of rose up in you as you realized where you were. You just didn't recognize it until you saw it. But the buildings are still standing, but there have been new buildings added to it. There's a windmill. There are some other barricades, other things that have been added, and it's been expanded. But this, you do recognize this installation.
Achira, practically under her breath, she doesn't even really realize that she has even started saying it. She goes, Marcus, Amanda, Nora, Omar, baby Faith.
And as you stand there, you're lying, looking down, you see the courtyard. And you've been watching for a while. There's a strange wooden carriage, black, pulled by a horse in the center of it, a tank in the middle, and you watch as smoke billows up out of the tank as it begins rumbling. And even from where you are on this hill, half a mile away, you hear the shout of glee from somebody, "Fuck yeah!" as the tank comes online and begins sputtering, and you can hear the rumble of its horribly loud engine from even where you're at. They're making a hell of a racket. But there was a tent, and you see, because you have your recon gear through your binoculars, you see Rowan and what Rowan looks like now. And you see Lampwick.
And Achira sees how chummy they look as well.
They aren't at odds. They seem to be talking to one another.
Is there any kind of role I can do for Achira to get a real good look at this body language that's happening between the two of them?
It's called Detect Motives, and I will allow you to do so. You don't have any degrees of difficulty here. You can roll it straight.
Okay. Since I'm looking through my binoculars with it, can I use my recon gear?
Yes.
Basically, she's trying to see what this situation is, whether Lampwick is being very chummy with the Citadel after she just found Arya's head, or is he unwilling and is trying to talk his way out of something?
I think that will be determined by your roll. So let's see how you do. It's 3 degrees of failure. It's on you as to whether or not you wish to use any of your remaining competency. I will remind you that any unused competency that you carry out of the session turns into survival points, which are very useful.
Very useful. Very useful. I do have a number of survival points right now, like a lot. I'm wondering if there's any way to utilize some in an effort to soak up one of those failures, like in the sense of utilizing my recon gear. I'm able to see a closer path to them to be able to get a little bit closer to take away one of those failures, keeping in mind I only have 2 competency points, so it's still going to be a failure / wash anyway. Unless I'm in a location hazard this close to the Citadel. And I kind of figured that I'm not.
You are not. You are in what you believe to be a secure area.
Okay. I'm just thinking of any use of maybe survival points.
I believe that you have, if you can expend it if you want, but I believe that what this means is that regardless, you are going to fail this roll. And so you can reduce it.
I should just let this be. She's not completely sure.
Yeah, you can't. I think that's fair. I think you can't tell what Lampwick is, but you don't think he's with the Citadel. You think that he's traveling. It seems weird. There's a lot of guards. Maybe you're misreading the situation, but you know, you don't think that he's a part of this. Some event is happening. You don't know what it is, but these people in white masks are standing around, and there are a lot of the Citadel standing around with guns. It doesn't feel like a Sunday brunch, whatever is happening. And you're unable to read Lampwick's face. You're unable to tell what he's doing or what he's feeling or what the relationship is from this distance. However, as you're looking through your binoculars, I need you to make a spot listen roll, please. And you do have 1 black die of difficulty on this roll.
Okay. Any gear that can go into this?
You can use your recon gear, as you are currently using it to try to keep eye on the area. I think it's more than fair for me to say that you can use it here.
Okay.
On this roll. You watch as that tank in the distance begins rolling forward a little. That is 4 degrees of failure. It looks like the tank is now mobile in the distance, and all the smoke is billowing off the back of it. And as you're watching through your binoculars, you don't notice someone step up behind you and press a rifle barrel into your back. All right, I'm not looking to hurt you, so this is how it's going to work. You're going to put that scythe of yours and your gun over here.
Like looking at pulling a Michelle here and be like, oh, how much time do we have left in the show?
Mm-hmm. What would you like to do?
I want gun to the back, location hazard. No.
No.
Yes?
No. Yeah, it's not that sort of location
yeah, I know.
hazard.
I know. Achira's going to spin and slash at this person.
And we'll come back to you next week. Juniper, before we go, let's have a little conversation. You're standing on top of this bunker. These Romeros have broken loose. They're dragging these branches and nooses behind them. And you recognize them as being dressed as typical rag and bone merchants. You're not sure who's done this, but these individuals have been murdered and left here to trap anyone who might come through. Digger is fighting, swinging at a few of them as he's also attempting to climb up to the top of this bunker. I need you to make a spot listen check, please.
Okay. That would be... It's like 4 degrees of failure. No big deal.
You don't notice anything at all.
Cool.
And
Well, you know what? I'll use all 4 of my competency points to make that a wash. How about that?
if you so choose, you don't want to keep those as survival points at the end of the session. You're just going to use them to wash this out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, it's a wash.
It seems
Still
really
a failure.
important.
Still a
I
failure.
know, but
you've failed, but not as badly as you had before. So you don't immediately notice, but a vehicle pulls very loudly into the grove, and you see a number of individuals with guns pointed at you.
Oh. Just wave.
They don't wave back. And that's where we're going to end our session tonight. Before we go, as she was unable to do so before, Melee, would you like to talk a little bit about what you're doing across the internet?
Sure, but I'll make it very quick. Every Tuesday, you can catch me here. On weekends, I run games on a Patreon, and we do D&D and Vampire and all the fun stuff, so you can sign up if you want me to run a game. I'm not as cool as Nox by any means, but I still try. And got some music coming out. I have a song out right now called Mothership, and the music video should be out. We're almost done on it. We're working on it vigorously, and it feels like it's taking forever, but it should be out soon. And yeah, that's it. I'll keep it short and sweet.
Thank you all for your interactions tonight. We are very excited to see what happens next. We hope you join us next Tuesday. We will be here at Outbreak, Rag and Bone.